Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2024 Netflix original film, Family Pack, starring John Reno. A bunch of other people are in this. He's the only person I'm familiar with from other American-based projects. This film is on French. The story takes place in France, and it is filmed in France. So it's a great what-if story of another what happens if you get sucked into a game. So we all know Jumanji, we all know Zathura. So what happens if there's another game that you kind of get sucked into? But it's also not even a matter of getting sucked into a game. It's a matter of the game is a teleporter, transporter, time travel device, and you still have to play the game in the time period that it brings you to in your linear timeline. Not so much the game itself has its own world. It's the game comes into the real world in the time that it brings you to. So it's different. I like that. Family is two divorced individuals with their own kids are now married with one kid. And so it's three kids, two parents, and they're visiting grandfather. And so they're going to play this game, but grandfather's starting to lose his mind. Alzheimer's is clearly present, and he's forgetting things. So they're playing this werewolf game. And then eventually the werewolf game, once it's being put together, all of a sudden there's an earthquake, they go into the cellar, and then they're brought to 1497 medieval France. And so they're trying to then locate how to get back home. Do they have to play this game? Like, do they have to kill these four werewolves in this town? Like, what's going on? They're a 3-hour drive away from Paris. That they said that a few times. But each individual now has the powers of these characters. So how do you use the characters to fight these werewolves in 1497 Middle Ages of France? And how do you not get killed along the way? How do you not get called a witch and burned at the stake? And all these like tropes of Middle Ages. So I thought it was very interesting seeing that come about. Having Leonardo Piero da Vinci at the end, who's really Piero the entire time, but revealing himself as Leonardo, going back to Italy, having then the Mona Lisa painting being changed to Jerome's image instead of whoever Mona Lisa is. It's just very entertaining how one small effect in the past can change the future. So it's a good trope of time travel, but it's a good trope of game, and it's a good trope of werewolf. You have werewolves, you have witches, you have knights. So it's a nice, different type of thing. Set design was gorgeous. There was a lot of music throughout this. There was a few different musical numbers that the Jerome Daniel character is just playing his lute. Which is the old version of the guitar. That was also fun, having that little history lesson, trying to figure out what this new rubber thing is from the Americas, which I think is interesting because late 1400s is when Spain stumbled upon the Americas. Not discovered, no. When they stumbled upon the Americas. So I think that was also a nod to, hey, I got this stuff from the Americas, and it was rubber. So they were discussing the uses of rubber and stuff like that. So it's also neat from a historical point where different properties come from. I myself am curious where plastic comes from. I know it's oil-based, but where did that start? How did that start? Who decided to figure that out and then use it for everything that we have now that's plastic? But I'm very curious because I didn't know that. I don't know that actual history. Who knows the history of where the first thing of wood was like, you know what, this will be useful for projects, or who discovered how to melt rock into metal and then form that into things. Who discovered these things hundreds of thousands of years ago, right? So plastic is more new age versus metal and wood. So plastics and rubber are more new age compared to metal and wood. That's what I was trying to say. So I liked this film a lot because it was also hysterical. The guy getting the arrow bumping into him a bunch of times. But it got me thinking on a historical front. When did this thing happen? When did that thing happen? And I'm curious. So I'm going to be looking things up now. That's what's cool about certain projects. You watch a project for what it is, but it sometimes, not all of the time, but sometimes certain projects just make you think and start to question. And that's what's cool about it. Certain books do that, certain plays do that, certain TV shows do that. So it's neat having different forms of media spark an interest. You're supposed to be quizzical. You're supposed to have a query. Ask the question, and eventually you'll find an answer. That's enough philosophy for one day. Family Pack, awesome 2024 Netflix original film. On to the next review. Mahalo.